Colorado Senator Michael Bennet isn't backing out of the presidential race just yet. Just this week, we learned once again he won't qualify for the next round of Democratic debates. He didn't get quite enough donors, nor did he break the 2% needed in any poll before Tuesday. Both were requirements to make the debate stage on October 15th. Bennet entered the race back in May, and by the end of the third quarter, raised $2.1 million. Right now, his campaign is spending more than it's bringing in. Joe Biden will be on that debate stage. The former vice president was in Denver last weekend for a fundraiser. He spoke at the Phipps mansion to more than 200 Democrats about issues ranging from mass shootings recently to gay rights. President Trump stepped up his attacks on the Democrats who launched his impeachment inquiry this week, demanding a whistleblower be identified and saying this whole thing is a lie. In a series of tweets, he took aim at House Intelligence Committee Chairman Adam Schiff, saying he fabricated the transcript of his call with Ukraine and asked him to resign. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo has confirmed he was on the July call with the Ukrainian president, but says he'll ignore House subpoenas asking his staff to testify.
We won't tolerate folks on Capitol Hill bullying, intimidating State Department employees.
House Speaker Nancy Pelosi says President Trump is scared of the impeachment inquiry and claims the president knows the argument that can be made against him. Joining us today to talk about this and a few other things is Denver Post columnist Krista Kafer. Krista, how are you doing today?
Good to be here.
What do you think is going to come next with all of this stuff?
I think this is just ugly politics, seriously. So we have a politician whose son ends up getting a pretty lucrative deal he probably shouldn't have. We have another politician who chats about it to a foreign government. Certainly not an ethical thing to do. And, you know, it's ugly, it's silly, but is being unethical the same as high crimes and misdemeanors? Is being a jerk the same thing as being, you know, guilty of high crimes and misdemeanors? I don't think so. I think this is just a play to the left far wing of the party to say, hey, we're going to impeach this guy. Really? I mean, and I remember I used to be a congressional staffer. I was there during the Clinton impeachment, and at the time we felt really self-righteous. But in retrospect, we spent millions of dollars for basically unethical, jerky behavior. This is the same thing. Let's wait till 2020. You can vote him out of office then if that's what you want.
And so some of the conversation here obviously involves the president's personal lawyer, Rudy Giuliani. And, you know, how are you seeing this distinction between what the official government officials are doing versus what Trump's personal attorney is doing, sort of maybe in connection with some of these state officials?
I think Barr's asking the same question, right? You know, what's my job? What's his job? What's he doing up there? I don't know that Giuliani's doing the president any favors, getting up there, talking, spinning conspiracy theories and so forth. I also don't think the tweets are helpful, but have they ever been helpful? The fact is that we've got just a messy political situation that is really a distraction from the things that we probably should be talking about, which is the state of affairs around the world. We do have a booming economy. I think it's fantastic, but we have record deficits, record debt. We've got other things we need to be doing besides this sort of silly nonsense.
Well, and you know, as we talk about, you know, what should people be doing in Congress in Washington as we head into 2020? I think that's kind of the big question between Republicans and Democrats. You know, obviously the House Democrats have tried to push their bills forward. Mitch McConnell has obviously blocked all of those, and then the Senate has been trying to do its own thing that they know the House will block. And now we have this impeachment inquiry. What do you see happening over the next 14 months?
Well, gridlock can be a really good thing. That means fewer regulations, fewer laws that get into our freedoms. I think that's largely a good thing. That said, I would love for them to balance the budget. We're at $1 trillion deficit. Some of that's President Obama's fault, some of it President Bush's fault, and certainly a chunk of it is President Donald Trump's fault. And Congress, of course, being an able abettor in that. And I would love for them to actually do the work of Congress, which is not the silly political stuff. It's actually doing the work of the people, which is balancing the books, setting priorities, doing the right thing. I mean, Social Security is going to be insolvent in a couple of years. How about they start with that?
And obviously all this is going to sort of play into our biggest 2020 race, the Senate race here in Colorado. Obviously, you know, John Hickenlooper and the other Democrats have been pounding Cory Gardner over the head on all of this and his sort of lack of really saying too much about it all. But, you know, how does this impeachment inquiry, how does all of this, you know, new focused inquiry on the president. How does that affect Cory Gardner?
He's got a tough race. He's a great senator, but this is a very purple, possibly bluish purple state. It's a tough race. That said, he's got a great track record. He's great. He's a great statesman. He's just an all-around good senator. So I don't know. It may affect him. It may not affect him. He is in a difficult position, though. We have a president that's not super popular here. We have a crazy pro-Trump, very small faction of the Republican Party that expects him to be in line. A lot of other people who are skeptical, and so it puts him in a difficult position. But the idea that he is wrong to support the president is sort of ridiculous, in the sense that every time President Obama did something unethical, nobody demanded that the Democrat supporters or Democrat politicians here in Colorado call him out or move against him. It's not unusual. It's actually it's business as usual, if you will, for politicians to support like members in office. And so this idea that somehow he's, Senator Cory Gardner's wrong to support Trump, he is no more wrong to support Trump than those who supported Obama on the Democrat side were wrong in supporting him. He's just doing his job.
Well, it's certainly going to be an interesting next 14 months on all of that, and I'm sure we'll be talking plenty more about it all. Krista, thanks for joining us. And if you've ever got a question or a segment idea, you can always tweet us at Denver7Politics on Twitter. And don't forget to watch today's segment anytime at thedenverchannel.com/politics unplugged. Thanks for spending part of your weekend with us, and we'll be back here next Sunday for another edition of Politics Unplugged.